Welcome. In this presentation, I will discuss college and career readiness in K-12 school counseling through three interconnected frameworks: the ASCA National Model, multi-tiered system of supports, and positive behavioral interventions and supports. We will also explore social cognitive career theory and culturally responsive practices across grade levels and diverse student populations. College and career readiness is increasingly embedded in comprehensive school counseling programs aligned with the ASCA national model and implemented through MTSS and PBIS frameworks. The evidence consistently frames CCR as an integrated outcome that requires data-driven, tiered supports across the academic, social-emotional, and career development domains. Four core frameworks anchor this literature. The ASCA National Model provides the professional foundation for comprehensive school counseling. MTSS serves as the overarching organizational structure. PBIS addresses behavioral supports within MTSS. RTI provides the academic intervention framework. Together, these form a coherent architecture for proactive, equitable CCR service delivery. Goodman-Scott and Ziomek-Daigle find that MTSS training, leadership, and culturally responsive practices enhance CCR delivery and outcomes for diverse student populations. The alignment between the ASCA National Model, MTSS, and PBIS is structural rather than incidental. MTSS serves as an umbrella framework, encompassing PBIS for behavioral supports and RTI for academic intervention. College and career readiness is positioned within this structure at all three tiers: Tier 1, Universal Prevention; Tier 2, Targeted Supports; and Tier 3, Individualized Interventions. Comprehensive school counseling programs and MTSS share core elements: data-informed decision-making, tiered service delivery, collaboration, equity, and evidence-based practices across academic, social-emotional, and career domains. Research by Olson and colleagues found that more time spent on ASCA-aligned activities predicts higher MTSS knowledge and skills, suggesting that strong ASCA model implementation directly supports effective tiered CCR work. This slide maps specific CCR strategies onto each MTSS tier, illustrating that CCR is not a single program, but a layered system of supports delivered with increasing intensity. At Tier 1, all students receive universal CCR instruction through school-wide curriculum, classroom lessons, college and career fairs, and online career guidance systems. At Tier 2, roughly 10 to 15% of students receive targeted small group supports addressing transition skills, career assessments, and data-informed workshops. At Tier 3, students with elevated needs receive individualized CCR planning coordinated with families, transition specialists, and post-secondary partners. This tiered structure ensures that all students receive some level of CCR support while concentrating intensity where it is most needed. Effective Tier 2 CCR groups target approximately 10 to 15% of students with identified needs in career exploration or college knowledge gaps. Olson and colleagues emphasize that these groups must incorporate culturally sustaining practices, student voice, and asset-based framing, deliberately moving away from deficit models. Fidelity strategies include structured protocols, checklists, and iterative data review with an anti-racist lens. Tier 3 delivers intensive individualized services, post-secondary planning, FAFSA, and financial aid assistance, admissions counseling, and coordination with families and post-secondary partners. For students with disabilities, collaboration with transition specialists is necessary to align CCR supports with IEP and 504 plans. Counselor self-efficacy in CCR work is linked to both MTSS training and direct experience with tiered service delivery. CCR implementation requires developmental differentiation across the K-12 span. In elementary settings, Tier 2 focuses on social-emotional skills, executive function, and early college and career awareness, aligned with PBIS and ASCA competencies. These early experiences shape how children understand the world of work and their own possibilities within it. In middle school, Tier 2 groups address career exploration, aspiration development, and academic skill building. Tier 3 targets students with identified CCR gaps, including those who need support in accessing accelerated coursework or dual enrollment prerequisites. In high school, Tier 2 addresses admissions readiness, financial aid literacy, and career cluster exploration. Tier 3 involves comprehensive post-secondary planning coordinated with college and career partners. Fidelity to MTSS processes is essential at this stage, where CCR decisions carry long-term consequences for students' pathways. School counselors occupy a distinctive leadership role within MTSS, serving as leaders, collaborators, advocates, and systemic change agents. Effective counselor leadership centers on building relationships, shaping school climate, and integrating CCR into tiered systems, drawing on transformational, distributed, and servant leadership frameworks. PBIS functions as the behavioral component of MTSS, emphasizing school-wide expectations, positive reinforcement, and evidence-based interventions. Counselors play a central role in PBIS coordination and data-driven behavior support. By improving school climate and student engagement, PBIS creates conditions that support CCR outcomes across all tiers. The hand-in-glove framework, described by Smith and colleagues, captures the essential alignment between PBIS, MTSS, comprehensive school counseling programs, and CCR, with counselors as the connective force across all of these. Cultural responsiveness must be embedded at every tier of MTSS, not treated as a supplement to the standard framework. At Tier 1, school-wide practices should explicitly confront anti-Black racism and deficit views of diverse students. Universal CCR lessons must attend to race, socioeconomic status, and first-generation status as relevant factors in career development. At Tier 2, groups center students' cultural strengths and lived experiences rather than deficits, with explicit attention to race and systemic barriers. For students with disabilities, this means strengths-based groups focused on self-advocacy and transition skills in collaboration with transition specialists. At Tier 3, intensive CCR counseling includes cultural matching, same-race role models, strong family partnerships, and an anti-racist lens applied to individualized planning. When data reveal patterns of exclusion, counselors advocate for system-level change. Social cognitive career theory, developed by Lent, Brown, and Hackett, provides a foundational framework for understanding how career interests form, how students select pathways, and how they persist over time. SCCT emphasizes three core constructs: self-efficacy beliefs, outcome expectations, and career goals, situated within person variables such as gender and race, and within contextual supports and barriers. For school counseling, SCCT offers a developmental lens across 6 themes: the development of self-efficacy and outcome beliefs, interest development, interest to goal linkages, translating goals into action, performance, and navigating transition supports and barriers. Empirical tests consistently support these pathways. Turner and Lepan found that vocational self-efficacy and career planning efficacy predict career interests across Holland themes, pointing directly to what counselors should target in CCR intervention. In this slide, I showcase SCCT constructs in culturally responsive counseling strategies. Self-efficacy is the most consistent predictor of career interests, pointing counselors toward mastery experiences tied to everyday school tasks and culturally consistent goals. Outcome expectations should connect pathways and credentials to students' specific interests and community realities, rather than to generic timelines. Interests and goals are strengthened through exposure and connections to the local economy, as Project Hope demonstrates. Contextual supports, particularly parental involvement, account for substantial variance in vocational self-efficacy, making family partnership routines a genuine priority in CCR programming. Finally, barrier mapping is a concrete, actionable tool. Counselors assess financial, structural, and cultural barriers with students and co-develop coping strategies, moving from awareness to active navigation. This shift from problem identification to skill building is central to equitable CCR practice. Culturally responsive career counseling in elementary settings builds early career awareness while disrupting the early narrowing of aspirations. Gottfredson's circumscription and compromise theory establishes that children as young as 6 begin ruling out occupations based on perceived race, gender, and prestige. Culturally responsive practice intervenes before this narrowing solidifies. 3 strategies emerge from this literature: multicultural career fairs with demographically matched professionals and narrative curricula using diverse models expand children's sense of what careers are possible. Augmented reality tools and culturally responsive computing curricula broaden pathways for diverse and low-income students. For multilingual newcomers, experiential interventions connect work roles to students' immediate environment, with explicit recognition that, in many cultural contexts, career decision-making is a family and community endeavor rather than an individual one. Counselors also need adequate training, resources, and dedicated time for early career development to implement these strategies with fidelity. Conventional career counseling theories were built on white, male, middle-class American experiences, centering individual autonomy and linear career progression. For culturally diverse students, these frameworks can contradict their worldviews and ignore structural barriers. SCCT and relational cultural theory are identified as the most flexible and culturally adaptable frameworks for work with diverse adolescents. Several strategies are consistently recommended in this literature. Counselor self-awareness and cultural humility are foundational prerequisites. Explicit barrier acknowledgement treats structural constraints as real, not as student deficits. Culturally responsive group counseling, organized around shared cultural experiences, strengthens both career development and peer connections. Intersectional programming attends simultaneously to race, gender, and other identity dimensions. Family and community context are treated as legitimate factors in career planning, not as obstacles to individual self-determination. There are 4 practical priorities for K-12 school counselors. First, implement MTSS-informed comprehensive school counseling programs that embed CCR across all 3 tiers: universal education at Tier 1, targeted groups at Tier 2, and individualized planning at Tier 3, under robust leadership and data governance. Second, invest in CCR-specific training and supervision. MTSS training strengthens counselors' beliefs about their CCR roles and is directly associated with enhanced knowledge and practice, particularly around group work, career development, and prevention. Third, collaborate with transition specialists, special educators, and post-secondary partners to deliver inclusive CCR for students with disabilities. Fourth, prioritize equity, anti-racism, and continuity across grade bands using culturally sustaining Tier 2 practices and anti-racist Tier 3 planning from elementary school through high school. ASCA-aligned comprehensive school counseling programs, PBIS and MTSS, together provide a coherent, equity-focused architecture for K-12 college and career readiness. Tier 1 CCR instruction normalizes college and career-related conversations for all students, aligning with ASCA mindsets and behaviors and PBIS school-wide expectations. Tier 2 culturally sustaining groups, and Tier 3 individualized planning address elevated needs with equity and cross-disciplinary collaboration at the center. Emerging innovations, including neurodiversity-informed CCR practices and AI-enhanced ASCA MTSS frameworks, represent a growing edge of the evidence base. Culturally responsive CCR improves access and outcomes for historically underserved students. The integration of ASCA, PBIS, and MTSS marks a meaningful step toward equitable college and career preparation for every student in K-12 school counseling.